Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to today's video. It's Friday. Hope you had a great day, and more importantly, hope you all finished the week green or had a green week. No trades here today. I was feeling quite tired before the market opened. Feel pretty tired all day, but at the same time, just didn't really capitalize on basically a few opportunities. But I actually didn't think there was much overall in the market today. Not unless you caught probably BOSC really early before the halt. But yeah, we're going to talk about three stocks today: OTLK, BLIN, and BOSC, just to give you my thoughts and opinions on where you could have traded, some good potential entries, and talk about the stocks in general. But anyway, yeah, hope you had a great day and week. Me personally, that finishes our fourth week now, fourth week in a row that's green, and next week we'll be moving up the share size. So really happy here. Just sadly I didn't trade today, but anyway, let's get into the recap. So the first one I'm talking about is OTLK. This was making a move up yesterday, and then today it was gapping up again. And to be honest, it was the only one that was on watch. It did make it with hindsight. It made a great move. It had gap fill on the daily chart. So let me show you this, because as I said, gap fill was so important. So you see here on the daily chart. Here you see how the gap basically started at that 185 and then used the closing price there as 315. So you see how it had this. It basically, once it broke 185, because you could just see on the I'll use this chart. You could just see on the 1 minute chart, especially early on, you see how that 185 just come into play. It comes support there once it broke through pre-market, becoming resistant right before the open. Right there you see how it becomes resistance, and then it finally, and when it breaks, it now becomes support, and it goes to its next leg up. Sadly, it never filled the gap. That's what I was looking for. If I was going to play it, I was going to look for it to fill the gap at 315 to short into it. The reason why I didn't long it was I missed out, because I was checking on another stock. I actually missed out on this washout here, which was back to the 20 EMA. You see how it went up to basically 225, washed out exactly to that $2 of support. I missed that. That would have been a potential play there. But otherwise, I didn't really like playing it, because even though it was a low float stock, you just see on the level 2, it's not showing you as much now, but you see even already, it just didn't trade like a low float stock. Look, 64 million shares of volume that's gone through. That's just crazy for a low float stock. You just see there was big buyers, big bids, big sellers on the ask, big buyers on the bid, and you just see how, even though it did make this move here, it was just trending so small increments basically. It was just trending upwards, making the moves upwards, but the big move was there on that washout, back to the as you said, the EMAs, and that would have been a nice little pop. And so definitely had that support at that $2 area as well. And the reason you could basically long it was because it was overextended. It just pulled back, which was good, and then it still had that gap fill to fill above. But I didn't really like trading it just because of you just see here once again 8,900 on the bid there. It's just very thickly traded, and when stocks are thickly traded, as I said before, it's like a motorway, it's like a freeway. The more cars are on it, the more it's congested, the less it moves basically. So it did make a move in the end, but overall really didn't like it. The stock I'm actually disappointed that I didn't trade today was BLIN. So BLIN come up on the scanners, made this great move. This didn't get halted. But what happened here was it made this great move. You see from the $5, really overextended, up to $5.90. It pulls back. I was thinking about it, but didn't pull the trigger. But anyway, I was looking for the short, and the short was, and this was the key sign here. It breaks through. It touches $6 exactly. And when it touches $6, the one thing I noticed, and actually talked to some guys, I told them in real time about this. You see, the biggest volume came on that candle there, over 150,000, and it still didn't break $6. So definitely that would have been a perfect entry to get into short, around the 590 area, risking up the high of day, and then it sold off. It had a retest, definitely could have got in there. That would have been basically the perfect entry, because we got the retest, and it still couldn't break, and then it just it sold off. It had I wasn't looking at the stock later on. Basically, the volume come out. It obviously went back up to 580, but we could have got a nice 40, 50 cents there. So that was the one I was disappointed that it didn't trade. And so I don't think I was 100% today. Still don't feel great now. I feel really tired for some reason. But that was the one I was really disappointed with in terms of actually not pulling the trigger. And then the last one, which made a great move, was BOSC. You see here, it made this move up. It gets halted. Once again, let's look at this one from this perspective. The one thing I was looking at here was this actually has a little gap to fill up to 394. So once it got to this area, I was basically wanting it to run to 394. Ideally a second halt, get to that high there at 394 and then short it. But sadly, you see once again, this was like yesterday's one where it created, because it halts create that intricate gaps. Gaps love to be filled. Once again, it got filled. Same as OTLK yesterday. So it created this gap here. It pushed up. It pushed up above 350 up to a high of 362. I guess the next sign would have been here. This pushed up to a high of 358. So basically breaks that $0.50, gets rejected, breaks again, gets rejected. That would have been a great, hindsight now. This is talking about that would have been a great spot to get in short, because these stocks once again, and also BOSC, it's just had once again long wicks, history of giving back its gains. That's what we love to see. You can rely on that history for the majority of the time, and it did exactly that. And once it sold off here, it just tanked all the way down to that 275 area, which would have been a nice area. I'd expect to go down to the 250 area probably by the end of today. Where is it at right now? It's curling back around, which is nice, but once again, look, there's just no volume. So with a stock like this, because there's no volume, you'd have to, once it drops, you'd have to sell it quickly, because if you've got any sort of decent share size, you just won't be able to get rid of your shares quick enough, or you'd have to wait for the volume to come back in. So hindsight, looking at this, definitely that second candle, once it got rejected off 350, would have been perfect. But once again, I said I was looking for that 394 area. If it got 394, I definitely would have got my shorts, definitely would have looked to take the play, but sadly it never got up there. And as I said, looking back at this one, I'm actually disappointed now that I didn't see this quick enough in real time, because that's a perfect rejection there. Long wick, can't break 350. Okay, that's the first try, but it could sometimes hold the VWAP and then curl around. But you just see here, it went to break 350 again, got rejected. Perfect entry. That's what, from a shorting perspective, that's what we look for. We want to see that rejection. And they're basically the three stocks. So no trades today. I said OTLK. It's like a traffic jam, just really large. It traded like a large cap or a large float basically, even though it was meant to be a small float or a micro float, and or a low float even. And yeah, BLIN, missed my opportunity on that one, and then BOSC, the stock just didn't go to plan. And that's a good thing to probably realise, that when a stock, you have a plan for a particular stock, and if it doesn't meet the plan, then you just don't trade it. Stocks will, once you have these sort of plans premeditated, I think you can do that more from a shorting perspective. Once it hits your ideal price points, yeah, you can look to take the trade, and if it doesn't, then you just don't take the trade. Simple as that. But anyway, 4 weeks green. We're moving up in share size as of next week, and I'm going to see you guys then. You all have a great weekend. Bye bye.